I'm here in Carlsbad, California, next to a busy road. I've turned off the ambient road noise because it was really annoying, but this is the kind of chaparral environment that's been cleared and it's been turned into sort of a corporate landscaping project all along this road, and there's no doubt a lot of watering that goes on to support this lawn next to the sidewalk, and what that does is it fuels the growth of these wild shrubs. The blue elderberry is a deciduous shrub or small tree. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's a tree. I made a video of this last year in 2012, and it was around the same time. It was during the summer in bloom, and the flowers are kind of yellow like that. They sort of remind me of, those discs of fennel flowers, but these kind of, droop down at the edges, sort of like little yellow umbrellas. And in the shade here you can see clusters of bluish purple berries, and these berries are very attractive. You can see them from a distance. At first you think something else is flowering amidst these blue elderberry bushes, but when you get close or you kind of slow down and look when passing by in your car, you can see they're actually nice little clusters of berries. And this is an immature bush, and this is a more mature one that has the beginnings of some berry clusters. So bears and birds really like these berries, and we're going to get a closer look pretty soon. So the blue elderberry you see here is categorized under the genus Sambucus. There are about 30 species in this genus of elderberries around the world, and there's some debate as to whether this is Sambucus mexicana or is this cerulea. So on Wikipedia, for example, it'll say cerulea, but I've read a lot of contrasting information. This was a big point of contention in my older video. So here you can see the flower buds and the active flowers, along with some that are kind of wilted and dying, the brown ones. And they're very attractive up close or afar. In this kind of lighting you can't see the yellowish tint as much, but from a distance they look very powdery, like light yellow. So they just really stand out among the chaparral plants. As is usually the case, all of these trees have grown along disturbed soil regions, and there are a few construction sites nearby with additional saplings or shrubs, sprouting out of the ground. So that's a pretty common sight in Southern California. You'll just see all these native plants and weeds sprouting up along disturbed soil. The blue elderberry grows up to 9 meters tall, and its leaves are hairless, strongly pointed, and kind of folded up, sort of like tacos or laurel sumac leaves, and the berries themselves are actually a very dark blackish blue, but they're coated with this glaucous powder, so they end up having this powder blue or sort of a powder bluish purple appearance, and you can see some unripe berries forming into these clusters that are so noticeable. The blue elderberry has a distribution that's pretty weird. It grows all along the coast of the western United States. It kind of stops at around a few miles into Canada, but it spreads inland, and there's pockets of it in just weird places, inland eastern California, Montana, northern Idaho, there's some in Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and other states as well. So it's just kind of all over the place, but they're not in a contiguous range. The blue elderberry has been used by Native Americans and European settlers to treat a variety of maladies. People make teas out of the bark and even the root bark, and you should avoid the green leaves and the green stems. They're mildly poisonous, and then the berries are okay to eat, and the flowers can be used to make teas. The flowers are considered to be the most mild part of the plant. I brought some of these blue elderberries home. They kind of remind me of miniature grapes, especially the stems. And basically I've read that these things can cause a little bit of nausea, but they always recommend that you cook them, and then they're fine. These are supposedly the tastiest of all the North American elderberry plants. So they kind of have this dusty white appearance at first, but as you'll notice in all the places where there's been like any kind of friction in my pants pocket when I was transporting them, They basically have this clear blue, dark blue appearance. So I'll try washing these. So I just washed these in tap water, and that alone doesn't get rid of this powdery appearance on them. You have to have some source of physical friction. Just get the right level of zoom here. Yeah, so there you go. If you do that, you can get that rich looking, very dark, it's almost black, you know, appearance. So on the tip here we have a berry that's not as mature, and here we have one that's completely unripe. It's still green. I'm not gonna try to eat any of those, but for the rest of these I think I can basically peel them off. I don't want to eat any of the branches or leaves, stems, things like that. They're just mildly toxic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil them together, let it cool down, and see what it tastes like. So I've got maybe 200 plus blue elderberries in here, and I just saw there's a not as ripe one there. I'm going to get rid of that, but basically that's a lot of labor. They have this kind of red juice inside, and you know, if I sniff them, they're not really remarkable in smell. I'm just going to add a thin layer of water to cover these and boil it for a while. And we'll see what the juice tastes like, and I'll try a few of these berries. Okay, so I'm boiling these right now. That only took 2 to 3 minutes, and these are very small, so they'll be thoroughly cooked even by now. So I can basically turn this off, and you know, this kind of has a red fruit punch color to it. I smelled it. It's sort of medicinal, sort of like dates or something, you know, that kind of smell if you're boiling those. And I'm gonna let this thing sit here for a while and then put it in the fridge and let it cool down, because it's summer, it's hot. I don't want to be drinking, you know, really hot stuff. And then we'll see what that tastes like. Okay, it's been maybe 10-15 minutes. This whole pot has cooled down, you know, it's cold to the touch. That way, you know, the heat won't interfere with my taste. And you can kind of see on the other side some kind of precipitants, you know, after it cooled down. So this kind of smells medicinal. And I'm going to first try some of the juice that's cooled down and see what that's like. So, how would I describe that? Yeah, it's medicinal. It's not like cough syrup or anything. It's, you know, I remember tasting things like this when I was a kid. You know, it somehow keeps reminding me of dates. And there's a little bit of tanginess, but you know, it's nothing like what you would encounter in fruit punch or anything like that from the supermarket. Let me try some more. There's nothing really all that remarkable about it, but you know, that is a large volume of water for the amount of berries in there, so I'm going to go ahead and try some berries. Well, they said there'd be seeds in those, but I'm not really feeling those in my mouth, just a little bit of, you know, the peel and stuff. So I ate 6 berries. I'm not really seeing why this would be something like I think Native American tribes could subsist on for an entire winter. Let me try a few more. They're certainly not bad, but You know, they're not as sweet as reported in the literature. You know, these can be used to make jams and be used for like pie fillings or even donuts or whatever. Just have to try some more. I'm basically on an empty stomach too, and that means, let's see, well, it's been like maybe 4 or 5 hours since I ate, and I've had nothing but water since. So if there are any laxative properties or any, you know, of the other reported properties happening, I'll definitely know it's just this and not anything else I ate. This is not bad. You know, if you're in the wild, this is definitely a food source I would consider. And let's see, what time is it? It's like 6:27 now. So it's about 6:27 p.m. California time. I'll report back in a few minutes and tell you if there's anything going on that I'm feeling. But yeah, that's a good enough sample for now. Okay, it's been 76 minutes since I last had an update. I was at the computer, everything feels fine. You know, I just had a workout. I weight trained and I don't have any ill effects to report. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up most of this if I can. I've been combing through the literature and there are just so many uses purportedly for the blue elderberry, all parts of the plant basically. You know, the bark can be made into a tea and there are different parts of the plant, you know, say the root bark as opposed to the inner bark of the shoot system, or the outer bark. You know, these can all be made into teas. So a tea made from the inner bark and the root bark is a diuretic, and it causes vomiting, and it's a strong laxative. You know, it's purgatory. You may have heard of the word diuretic in reference to many beverages that are sweetened, etc., you know, such as soft drinks. A diuretic beverage or substance is something that makes you urinate more. The diuretic properties of this bark tea can be used to assist people with renal and heart conditions, and somehow this also helps treat epilepsy. An emollient ointment from the inner green bark and a homeopathic tincture made from the fresh inner bark relieves asthma complaints and may assist with croup. Croup is inflammation, edema, and subsequent obstruction of the larynx, trachea, or bronchi, especially in that of infants. Croup, which is spelled C-R-O-U-P, is typically caused by viral infections that result in difficulties in breathing among kids. Root bark tea is supposedly used to promote labor and childbirth and can treat headaches, kidney problems, and mucus congestion. The inner bark is also applied as a poultice to cuts, sores, or swollen limbs. It seems to be a topical anti-inflammatory agent. A leaf poultice can be applied to bruises and cuts in order to stop bleeding. The flowers are the most mild part of this plant, and they can also be used to make teas. Flower teas can be used to induce sweating of toxins from the body to prevent pneumonia in soldiers on the battlefield, for example. Flower tea is taken to purify the blood and help with pain and inflammation, as well as headaches from colds. Flower vinegar is an old remedy for sore throats. The medicinal properties of the berries fall on this purgative theme. The berry juice has been used successfully to treat rheumatoid arthritis and syphilis. Elderberry wine taken at night will produce sweating and clear out toxins and assist in ailments with mucus buildup, like early colds, coughs, and sore throats, as well as asthma. Blue elderberries can be made into a tea that's useful in the treatment of cholera and diarrhea. Roots of the blue elderberry may treat lymphatic and kidney ailments. The leaf juices can repel caterpillars, flies, and aphids, while the crushed flower stems can repel insects and rodents.